People of the internet, it is Dave, it is Duncan, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan and I have been chatting, or are going to be chatting.
We have been chatting 5 minutes before we started. Nothing to do with the pronunciation of this album, which we knew because we are worldly scholars with great and intelligible English. People never get confused with anything we say.
Not at all.
Pronunciation on point.
We are going to be chatting about the new album from New York City's fantasy heavy metal sensation, Castle Rat. The band's new album, The Bestiary, will be released on September 19th via King Volume Records in North America and Blues Funeral Recordings in the UK and Europe. Castle Rat is a medieval fantasy heavy metal band hailing from NYC, led by the Rat Queen, Riley Pinkerton, on rhythm guitar and lead vocals. On her mission to expand and defend the realm from those who seek to destroy it, the Rat Queen is joined by the Count on lead guitar and backing vocals, the Plague Doctor on bass, and the all-seeing Druid on drums. Together they face the relentless wrath of their arch-nemesis, Death herself, the Rat Reapress. Since their pre-Plague inception in October 2019, they have released their debut album Into the Realm with King Volume Records in April 2024, which has racked up over 1 million Spotify streams and held the post as the #1 best-selling hard rock, all-rock album on Bandcamp upon its release. The band has cultivated a fiercely loyal following by curating a riveting, interactive, lore-laden live performance complete with a choreographed battle scene, recruiting fans who crave swords and sorcery, stoner and doom, battle babes and beasts, Frazetta and Sabbath.
Was that Battle Babes or Battle Daves?
Battle Babes.
An army of Daves descended upon us.
2025 began with an explosive start. Castle Rat launched a record-breaking Kickstarter to fund their second album, fully funding the campaign in just 37 minutes. The month-long...
This is like... See, I hate the internet, right? It's got tits on it, right? So I love the internet, right? It's got endless tits. It's got more tits than I will ever be able to look at. If I was getting paid to do nothing but look at tits, I would never exhaust the amount of tits on the internet.
No.
But there's a lot of shit on there. There's a lot of stuff that is negative and all the rest. And then your faith in humanity is restored. And you find that a band can say, listen, we want to do a new album. We need your help, fans. And the fans, within 37 minutes, are like, funded. Like there you are. And I imagine anything above that is a wee thing for you. It's a wee tend in the bra. You buy yourself something pretty heavy.
The month-long fundraiser went on to be the most successful metal Kickstarter in over a decade, closing out at $139,000. Just after the campaign, the band entered the studio to record their second album with producer Randall Dunn.
The band entered the studios with brand new Lamborghinis.
What's up, players? They hired producer Randall Dunn, who has worked with Sun, Wolves in the Throne Room, and Bjork. Following 2 sold-out tours in late 2024, the band undertook a headlining US tour in March 2025 with a 6-week stint in Europe, featuring numerous festivals, including Desert Fest, Hellfest, and Copenhagen. On the new album, the Rat Queen says the Bestiary is a conceptual book of beasts containing a collection of mystical creatures from a world forgotten. The last remaining souls of each have been gathered and preserved by the wizard. Cautionary tales of each beast and the wizard himself are woven through the power of traditional heavy metal song and spell. Following the recording with Randall Dunn, the album was mixed and mastered by Jonathan Nunez at Sound Artillery Studio. So, I had never heard of Castle Rat up until about a couple of months ago. When you dropped it into the conversation, I was like, all right, okay.
As is my want, Dave, I will occasionally, because I don't control what we review, but I can occasionally steer the direction in which we go.
You a little influencer, you. And the name just kind of stuck in my head. And then when the album came in, I was like, oh, hold on a minute. Duncan was speaking about this band not long ago. So here we are to chat about album 2 from Castle Rat. Had you heard the previous album or just heard about the band?
So I heard, I think they just launched a new single when I got in touch with you about it, and I did because I don't do a lot of due diligence when you pick an album. I'll be honest. Like you pick something unless there's a single in advance, and I have no album to listen to. I will then maybe jump back and check out the previous album if I like it, because I'm like I need to fill that void because I don't have the finished product there.
Yeah.
But after hearing that single, I had jumped back and checked out not the whole album. It was just like a couple of whatever was in the singles list on Apple Music. Other suppliers are available. I went through, checked out a couple, and like the cut of the jib, Dave. Like the cut of the jib. That was a mighty fine fitting jib, if I do say so myself.
So what about the Bestiary then, Duncan? What did you think of album 2 from Castle Rat?
Holy giblets, Dave. It's a lot of jib cutting about. I'm liking the cut of it.
Okay.
Don't know where we're going with this. We're ringing it back. I am super stoked on this, right? Because like, I'm not a huge fantasy guy, right? I've never been like. I know there are people out there that fucking adore fantasy fiction, fantasy movies, fantasy computer games, or into that. I was more the sci-fi kid, which I would say got you less chicks, right? The fantasy thing, you got the hot chicks with big old ditties. Me,
Battle Babes,
Battle Babes, cut the jib over that side. I got none of that on the side I was in. Yes, I owned a Klingon dictionary when I was 16. Kapla. And there's people out there going, yes, Duncan, fight the power. So I was never really into that. As I've got old, but there was one thing I was always into, which was I was kind of suckling around it. 80s fantasy is the tits, right? Like 80s fantasy movies before this, Lord of the Rings, 7 movies, fucking like 100 hours of like credits, because that's how long the movies are. It's just like credits for years. 80s fantasy, 70s and 80s fantasy. I'm talking movies like Krull. I'm talking movies like Excalibur. I'm talking movies like Conan the Barbarian.
Yes.
If ever a band was going to be the soundtrack to an updated version of Conan the Barbarian. You know how like sometimes bands, like we saw it recently where they're doing Nosferatu from 1921, scored by Radiohead, and you're like, I know how they would feel about that in 1921. But if ever they were to do something like that at the cinema, and they want to pick a score, Castle Rat's where I'm going first. Right? Because this has all the kind of pomp, circumstance, and glory of kind of battled, hardened, sword and sandals, like sorcery up your who's he what's it, just like from the off, right? Like from Phoenix 1. We're going to get to the numbers, and we're going to get to the animals, and we're going to get to how happy this album makes me. But from the off on the opening track, Phoenix 1. I was like, oh, you're laying out a promise here. You're setting up a stall. You're tempting me with your wares. Maybe a pouch of silver will be enough to going fantasy, Dave. You know what I mean? I felt myself being drawn in, and I was like, do not fuck it up, right? Because like this is cool. It's building. It's giving me a taste. Let's see how you get on, Wolf 1. And then Wolf 1 kicked in, and I was so fucking happy. I'll tell you what this band have that make them just infinitely interesting. And some people were like, well, the songs. And I'd be like, yeah, kinda. Yeah, the songs are great. And we're going to get to that. It is tried and tested, true and blue, doomy, stonery metal. By its very nature. What this band has that no one else has is a front woman who sounds so fucking authentic. I could honestly listen to her for years. Like, I love her tone. I adore her tone. She has a range that she sticks to, and it's perfect. Like, at times, when I was listening, I was like, go higher, and she was like, nope. And I was like, actually, I'm wrong. Fuck me. You know, fuck me. It is perfect. It sits somewhere in the mid-register. She has enough breath to go a bit deeper, but she doesn't go baritone. She has enough breath to take her higher, but she never really moves into like a soprano range. It's like all right in that nice middle belt.
Yeah.
And she does a combination of singing to the riff, which is a Doom techniques. Doom and stoner metal, you sing to whatever the riff goes, you're going, oh, Babadoo, you know, like, you follow it. It's kind of it's bluesy.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from. So you follow that. She has a combination of doing that, but also going off and doing her own thing and telling stories. Each of these tracks is a story.
Yeah.
It's a chapter in like the never-ending story. I just imagine a book with a giant amulet on the front. Like the trio, you know, like I am once again 80s fantasy. 80s fantasy for fucking days, man. The 90s had fuck all in the 80s, and guess what? Everything after that was CGI and shite, right? But like it's like the kind of the story element is fucking brilliant. And now I don't read the press. Infamously never read the press. You're telling me that it's all choreographed and they're telling these stories live on stage. I would pay above average cost for a ticket to go and see that, because while listening to this, if you close your eyes and you listen to it, you can almost picture the movie. This is what I mentioned the Conan thing before. You can picture a struggle of a character. You can see the redemption. You can see the defeat. You can feel the moments of woe. You can hear the moments of triumph, and it's all weaved through these tracks. Putting the vocals to the side, by God, did this band sound like they could have formed 40 years ago? It's fucking great. Like, and I don't mean that in that they're trying to sound like they formed 40 years ago. No. This band sound like they formed 40 years ago, and then were locked away in the ice castle, only to be thawed by the Maiden Prince. You know what I mean? Something like that, and then reclaimed their sacred weapons from yonder hill, plugged them into their amps, and then played some songs, and the crowds cheered, and the villagers were saved. The end, roll the credits. It has that kind of... What I love about it is it's not ostentatious, it's not over the top, it's not the most important thing here. You occasionally get like a really, really, really cool... I'm thinking of like tracks like Siren, where you get these like bitchin' solos that kind of lead the charge and thunder through. But they're not the most important element here. The most important element is the story that's told, and the story that's told is by the entire band. Yes, the vocals are painting the picture, so to speak, but the shifts in the music are almost kind of in the same way that classical music put into opera tell a story. Even when someone isn't singing, the movements can be a movement of emotion, or a movement of tone, tempo, pace, whatever that might be, is all captured in the creation of the music, and that's all the way through this. The flow of the album is fucking sublime, and what I love about it is literally bookending the story. So like we revisit characters as we carry through this, and not by the conventional way of a concept album might do. Like they might have the old man on the hill, and then later on it'll be like that redemption or something, and then they're like, oh, see, it links back, and you're like, I would never have known that had you not said that, or if there'd been a little motif. And this one, they literally revisit characters. You have Wolf 1 and Wolf 2. You have Phoenix 1, Phoenix 2. It's like bookending the story. It's important in the narrative. The other thing I love about it is I think the production here is fucking incredible. Like, it's so clean sounding, but like fuzzy and full and rich and inviting, and like I all I could think about was like I go to see these guys play live. Like, the smoke machine is on 3 minutes before the band come on stage. A whole lot of smoke. A whole lot of like frozen ice, smoke, fucking weird lights, and silhouettes. And I'm there for it all. It just flows as an album really, 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 really well. Musically, is it anything I've never heard before? No. Like, I've heard this music done loads. Have I ever heard it done kind of this way? The closest I could think of was that band who we loved on Svart Records with a female singer. And what was her name again? And it was fucking great. I think they were from Finland, because every band on Svart for the longest time were from Finland. Female fronted. Dave, you're struggling. I should have looked this up before I started talking. I think her name began with a G. Can't remember.
Jess and the Ancient Ones?
Yes, Jess and the Ancient Ones. Right, that's exactly who it is. Jess and the Ancient Ones. Yes.
I'm just plucked out of thin air.
For anyone that's never, like, you could be fact checking us right now. For it, and I will slow down here so when I make the statement, it is accurate. For anyone,
psychedelic rock band Jess and the Ancient Ones.
Thank you, Dave, on Svart Records. That's who they were. So for anyone, yeah, it's almost as if we reviewed so many albums that we should remember these names. Jess and the Ancient Ones are a kind of psychedelic, I would say, doom band. But the music in the background was never incredible. What threw it like into a different realm was the entire package with the female vocals, which had this tone that drove the music through and made it connect. That's what Castle Rat is. I think it's rich. I think, without reading the press, I got a lot of what you said. I love the album artwork. I love the concept, and I love the flow of the album. It's one of those albums that's effortless to listen to. It's also one of those albums that, I'm going to be honest here, Dave, if I did ever pick up the old vinyl player, this is one I'd want on vinyl. I don't know what it is. I think this would sound better through vinyl. Not that I'm telling you, buy the vinyl or come round. But this lived up to that single. This kind of is what I wanted it to be. And it delivered it. It doesn't go beyond my expectations, but in a lot of ways I didn't think I got a whole album of that. I thought, well, this might be the way to get me in, and then there's just a whole lot of like weird kind of folksy, pagany, who's he, what's he shit, and that's not what I'm here for. This is what I want. I want big, doomy, sludgy, fantasy metal, and this, it's like tick, 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 and move on. This is fucking great. Just like, you know what? I listened to this right after listening to this as well the first time, and they're not even in the same realm, but I was just like, give me it now. King Woman. King Woman, right after this, I was like, tickle my tits, slap my ass, and call me Wendy. Right? It's really good. It's really, really, really good. Now, I teased you in, Dave. I dare say I may have slotted this into your box. Your inbox, that is, where I was like, check this out, Dave. You took it on. Yeah. You remembered it, which is big in this day and age, because like often when I mention something, you're like, then of course we'll do that, Duncan. Never. But you remembered that it came in. You were like, we're gonna do it. You put it on the list. You sat down to listen to it. The real question, there's no surprises that I like this. The real question is, did you like it?
Well, Duncan, obviously never really heard the band before, apart from you mentioning them. I didn't really know much about them. So, I thought, right, there's only one album. I'll do a wee bit of homework.
I've got all the time in the world where I don't, but I'll go back and check the full album back catalogue of one album.
Let's check it out. Debut album, Into the Realm. It is old school. Like, it is old school, doomy heavy metal. Like, lots of character. Production is like not even vintage, it's like
rough.
Oh yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, it's a badger's arse.
It's like it sounds like a cassette that you're listening to almost. Like it's got that like tape kind of hiss to it and everything. Like if you isolated those drums and listened to them, they're rough. Like that they sound terrible. Like if you were to isolate the drums, they are horrific. But it kind of
isolate those drums, you'd be like that. Is this Mayhem's debut? Down here.
But kind of integrated into the overall sound, it kind of worked. And even like on album one, I seemed to like you had that feeling where like, all right, they know like what they want to do. There's a clear idea here.
Picked a lane.
Lots of riff worship. So like, there's plenty of like Black Sabbath and Candlemass and even like Electric Wizard and some of the doomier parts. And as an album, it was good. Some tracks I felt were maybe like a little bit needless, but it was like 32 minutes or something like that. So it wasn't like it really dragged on at all. This release, like from the off, you can tell they've spent a little bit of money on the production here because, like,
only they could. If only there was evidence that the Kickstarter overachieved.
yeah,
Like,
it sounds
we can
way
afford
bigger.
mics for these drums.
Yeah. Production sounds much bigger.
Yeah.
Like, still has that classic vibe. Like, it's still old school, but there's like a little bit more kind of polish to this. Much more clarity in the kind of mix. And just like much kind of grander sounding. And that intro of Phoenix One feels like it's kind of building to something like colossal. And then it fades out, Duncan. And with the way track 2 comes in, not gonna lie, felt like a little bit of an anticlimax to me.
What?
I didn't get that at all. Like, that track 1 into track 2, totally disconnected.
It's a movie, Dave. You finish the credits and then you build the story. You know, this is not a Bond movie.
This is an album. This is an album, and track 1 to track 2.
It is a fantasy odyssey. You like rein that right back in.
Wolf 1 basically starts the build up all over again. So
Yes.
basically, start all over again. Okay, and Wolf 1 is a good track. Not a great track, it's a good track. But for me, it didn't work as track 2 on the album. I think had they went from Phoenix 1 into Wizard, which is track 3, would have worked much better.
Just fucking the story here.
Wizard.
Wouldn't
yeah,
it make sense
I
in a movie theatre?
I know I'm fucking up the story. However, musically, it would have worked much better. Those big drum crashes that come in on Wizard would have like synced up perfectly with that fade out, which then kicks into this big kind of like Led Zeppelin-esque kind of riff. So, not gonna lie, it was a little bit kind of start-stop for me. But once we get going, the album then starts to kind of gain a bit of momentum, and it starts to spread its wings a little bit. And I felt like when I was listening, it was like, okay, this album is a touch more, I want to say technical, because it's not like, this isn't a style that's technical, but there's slightly more moving parts to this album than there was on Into the Realm. The songwriting definitely feels more fleshed out, like they've kind of figured out what worked from the debut and expanded and kind of refined it a bit more. The tracks also feel much tighter. You can feel the band have gotten closer on this release, which was one thing about the debut, along with that kind of production. It was kind of like a little bit raw, a bit kind of rough around the edges. And I don't know if that was maybe on purpose, possibly, but here the kind of synchronization is much better. Even you can hear it in the guitar leads, the little kind of dual like guitar harmonies that they add in, or the way they open up like the tempo a touch more to kind of add a bit more of that kind of new wave of British heavy metal feel. And I really like that, like the little kind of tempo burst on Siren gives it a bit more energy. But then like when they drop a gear from that into that something a bit slower and groovier, it feels more kind of powerful and impactful as well. So those elements made a much more interesting listen for me compared to the first album. It felt like the movements felt slicker, and they felt more locked in as a band. Also shows more dynamics on this album. So you've got tracks like Unicorn, it's like 6.5 minutes, takes its time kind of building that motion, softer guitars, you've got the real kind of haunting vocals, bringing in those kind of heavier like doom sections. Same with Crystal Cave, a lot of kind of like acoustic, kind of folkier kind of character on that track to build it up before it gets heavy. And even then when they do kind of build up to the peak of the track, it goes almost a little bit more kind of hypnotic than rather than like a catchy chorus, which I felt was cool. It did add a little bit more kind of theatrics, or a little bit more to that, to the whole kind of lore and the kind of narrative of the album. Also must say, as a drummer myself, loved the use of rototoms.
Oh man, you don't hear them all that much now.
Like,
why did that die out?
I don't know.
Drummers now, I think here's what the problem is. Drummers spend too much time buying cymbals with holes in them, which I mean, you better get money off for those holes because that's not a whole cymbal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all these holes and fucking weird shapes and fucking, if you're that dude from the internet, you put like a brick or an anvil or a weight on your snare and all this shit. And not enough time going that. You know what? 2 extra wee toms there.
Yeah, not enough bands using rototoms, Duncan. I totally agree. And like for me, like those are like the crack cocaine of air drumming. Like it's like
You want to keep going,
yeah,
right?
totally. Like my arms just start going, like just automatically, just fucking start drumming as soon as I hear that. So like that fill at the start of I think it's Serpent.
They don't overuse it either, which I
No.
kind of love. You
No,
know, if
they
it was
don't.
in every single song, it wouldn't be half as interesting.
Yeah, that track kicked in. I was like, oh, here we go, and my arms were away. Loved that. Chorus is great as well. Had a touch of the kind of Avatarium about it, the chorus in that track, which is cool. Like vocally as well, I think like you can't deny how good Riley Pinkerton, the Rat Queen, is on this release. I think she sounds much more in command on this release than previously. Like bigger melodies, bigger harmonies. And even though she
is the central character. She's the hero of this story. If she's like, like, I'm not following that anywhere. You know what I mean?
Even though she never screams or gets like super aggressive on this, her tone and delivery still feels like powerful. And like a part of that is production for sure, but I don't think, like, even that short space of time between the last album and this one, you can hear there's been an improvement there, and her kind of her intuition and her instincts have really sharpened up on this.
So you're saying
release.
a year between albums as well?
Yeah,
that's nuts. That makes sense.
Yeah, vocally much stronger than the debut for me. Here's where I come to my criticisms, Duncan.
This is the bit that you've, like, apart from all the criticisms you've already levied, there's a whole section here. There's an epilogue. It's an epilogue titled Davey's Criticisms.
I didn't love the flow as much as you did.
Oh, I like the flow. The flow's like a story.
I didn't like the pacing either. I felt it was very inconsistent for me anyway.
I didn't like you right now.
This is 48 minutes.
Which is no time.
13 tracks. So it's a bit longer than the debut. Maybe a wee bit too long for me. But I think, and this was an issue I had kind of on the debut as well, I think their use of kind of interlude tracks and the ordering of the tracks kind of holds it back a bit.
Let me throw a spanner in the works here. I'm not trying to defend anything here. Well, I am technically, but I'm doing it in a smart way. Let's say you saw this band play this album live, and the visual element matched the tracks. Like I've said, like Phoenix One is almost the in the beginning of time. There was, fucking scroll text, handwritten, and all the rest. And then the sun starts to rise here, and Wolf One kicks in, and the story officially begins. And then carries you through. Do you think, with added visuals accompanying those sections, specifically in the interludes and the bits that quieten down and whatnot, weave through, this would appeal to you more? But because you don't have that visual element, all you have is your imagination, which we've all found out right now, Dave's imagination, not great.
No, I do not, Duncan.
Right, you like it.
No, and I'll tell you why.
I see your argument, and fuck you.
I could have lived with a path of moss, right? It's like a minute and a half. It's right in the middle of the album. That's fine, cool. I can deal with that. That's perfectly fine. But then Wolf 2 comes in.
Oh, Wolf 2. What?
Although it's more of a song, as in it has vocals and it's like over 3 minutes. But musically, it's just repeating itself over and over. So it kind of feels like not so much like maybe it's not like an interlude. It's more like a transitional track almost. 2 tracks later, you've then got Summoning Spell. We get another 2.5 minutes of ethereal vocals and strings and atmosphere.
Yep.
Okay, and then 2 tracks later, we've got the closing track, which is Phoenix 2, which is an acoustic guitar outro.
Right, but Sun Song comes in between those, and
Sun Song
but
the problem is, I feel like the album is just start, stop, start, stop. It never really, that first half of the album, fine, it gets to build, but the second half of the album, I feel like, okay, we're building up, this track's great, and then we're settling back down for another transitional interlude type track. And then we've got another track, and then we've got another little transition here. But and like if the transitions were like 30 seconds, I'd be like, all right, that's fine. But some of them are like over 3 minutes long. I'm like, it just, for me, those moments didn't. And maybe like live with that stuff going on, yeah, I could see maybe it might work. Maybe not like after one track, but if they were kind of placed in better places, then I could see it working. But it didn't really work for me. And as I said, the intro track into Wolf 1 also didn't kind of land for me either. It just felt like a build-up into another build-up, and it was a bit of a kind of anticlimax for me. So Although I feel like musically, vocally, and obviously in the production, the band have taken like steps forward. There are certain choices for me structurally and in the pacing that just didn't quite do it for me, unfortunately.
Did you not masturbate this week? Get your cocket. All right, cool. What are we doing here?
We're doing the scores, Duncan. What are you scoring the Bestiary from Castle Rat?
I'm giving this a 4. I honestly don't know where the criticisms are. I had so much fun with this. I had so much fun. I took this for what I wanted it to be, which was a big, doomy fantasy hand job. And, you know, during that hand job, it is okay to start, stop, Dave. It can't all be this all the way right through. Really? Sometimes you can change the pace. I don't know why I'm doing this on camera. Let's go off camera. Like sometimes you need to change the pace, put a little bit of torque in it. But hop to, spit that thing. You know what I mean? What are we doing here? This is a 4.
What are we doing here?
I think this is great. I thought this is absolutely brilliant. Castle Rat, you have a fan. I'm in on the ground floor, even though this is technically album 2. Get your ass to Mars, Glasgow, and come over here and play. You know what? Like all the way through this, and this may explain things. Like one of my favourite movies of the last, and I keep coming back to movies because they've literally said it in the press statement. They're aiming for fantasy, epic. There's villains and heroes, and there's choreographed fighting on stage and all the rest. There's a movie that I adore that I know for a fact you hate, and that movie is Mandy, right? And Mandy is like genuinely for me one of the best movies like in the last 20 years. I think it's absolutely fucking phenomenal. God. But when you watch that movie, that is a movie that will give you action, and then will be like that. Right, we need to spend time just like taking in the scenery, breathing in the atmosphere. And this album knows when to take in the scenery and breathe in the atmosphere. Not everything can be a sword fight.
I like scenery. I like atmosphere.
You like no scenery at all.
I do. I think there's a time and a place for it, Duncan. The time and the place on this album was not for me.
The time and the place was too frequent and made me unhappy. I'm giving it a 4. Where are you coming in?
I'm going 3.5. So I'm not like
decent. It's not horrible then.
No,
like
it's not. I wouldn't like totally rip it to shreds because like musically it's still good. Vocally it's great. Production-wise it's brilliant as well. It really fits the album. It was just the kind of pacing and the ordering that just didn't quite gel with me. But still, like 3.5. It's still that's not
bad. Well, you know what? Rein back some of my anger. Rein it back. I'm going to take back my comment about you not masturbating this week because I can see where the gleam in your eye and the smell in your face. There's been a few. Let's bring this in.
Castle Rat, September 19th on King Volume Blues Funeral Recordings. Links to the band, check them out. The pre-order, one of the singles, have a listen, see what you think. Happy hearing your thoughts and opinions on it once the album drops. That is the review. Thank you for checking out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.